Welcome back to the Collaborative IEP podcast. I am Ashley Barlow, your host, and I am so happy you're here. And Happy New Year. This is our first episode of 2025. It is not a new season. We are still in the current season, and we're going to get back to the theme of episodes that I had done in December. So stay tuned for those. I have some kind of fun plans for those, and I'm going to kind of trickle them out. But this episode is really kind of like a cut to the chase type episode. I want to take some time in this episode to kind of be brutally honest with you for a moment. And then I want to talk to you about the things that I have um, planned for the year. And then I want to end with a bit of a challenge. Um, as well as some inspiration. That's where we are. I am excited to share this episode with you. Um, I actually started to record this in December, I'll tell you, and it sounded whiny and sad. And I was like, I am traditionally not whiny, and I of course, experience sadness, but, it's not something that, is part of my business plan. So I was like, Let's do that one in January. It's probably better for the first episode in January." Anyway, so fresh start, fresh year, 2025, is a super type A, anxious, go-getter type person. I will admit that well, I don't think it's an admission. I will simply say that I don't necessarily love New Year's resolutions. I have to constantly tell myself that things are okay and I don't have to try to make everything better all the time. And, complacency, there is a place for complacency and contentment. But I do love the idea, of course, of a fresh start and um there's no time like today, so if you're a fresh start person, then welcome to, the new year. I am really excited about 2025. I'm gonna talk a little bit about my plans here in a second, but what I will say is, I thought 2024 here at Ashley Barlow Company doing business as the Collaborative IEP, was good, it was fair, but honestly, I really had high hopes for last year, professionally, and, um, I don't really know what happened. The year just kinda got away from me, and I can't put my finger on why. I couldn't put my finger on why, but I just always kind of felt like I was trying to stay above water. So I'm really, trying to be intentional recently about not just trying to stay above water and trying to actually proactively get more done on a better schedule. Um, so 2024 was a fine year, as the kids would say. It was mid, and I'm excited to kind of get back into the creative inspiration and to take more time to connect with my clients and to appreciate the process of my job. So that's a little bit about how my year was looking back. And it kind of goes into what my thoughts are moving forward. Um, if you're watching on YouTube, I always say I highly doubt that people are. I'm extremely fidgety today. I am also extremely casual. I'm recording this over Christmas break. But also if you follow me on Instagram, my back has been out, out since December 24th. And it really hasn't done this in over 10 years. So I'm super uncomfortable. And it's a good thing it's not smell-o-vision because I am covered in biofreeze and, other various things because I just got a massage. Okay. So, before we get into today's topic, I do wanna tell you this is, something that we're gonna be talking about here in a little bit, but I always talk about gratitude here, and, when I have conversations with people, like, when I start talking about teamwork and IEP teams and communication on IEP teams and that kind of thing, I'm always like, for me, gratitude comes really, really naturally. And I think gratitude kind of comes with vulnerability and this like relentless optimism that I have. Um, and today I was watching the Today Show, January 3rd, if you want to go back and try to find it. Maybe I'll try to find the link and put it on social at some point. But there was this woman that was talking about gratitude vis-a-vis abundance and how there's all kinds of research that indicates that if you express gratitude and if you're communicating about gratitude, it improves relationships. And I was like, yeah. And I think it has to do with that vulnerability. I just think that when you take the time to say that you're grateful to a team, it can, show some vulnerability because you have to be thankful for something. And if you're thankful for something, it's, some kind of change or effort or something. And so you're acknowledging that the other people are putting in work too. And I think this is really important because more and more since the pandemic, parents are saying to me, well, could the IEP team be retaliating against me? Or could the IEP team, this person's really got it out for me? And like, could I get them in trouble for, this personal vendetta that they have? And, things just feel so emotional. And I'm, like, really excited to look into this research on gratitude because if we could do a little framework shift that seems pretty easy, and be leaders, what if it's as easy as expressing gratitude? Obviously, you have to feel it first. But I thought I would share that with you in case you wanted to go down a little rabbit hole. Certainly share anything that you find with me if you do. Um, but anyway, I'm constantly thinking about teamwork and thinking about, um how teams work together, and that seemed, important to share. So I will, be looking for also, if you know anybody that can talk about that we could have on the podcast, that would be interesting. So that leads to one thing that I'm excited for 2025 that's on my little list. I'd like to start to bring in some people that are adjacent to special education advocacy. So, like teamwork experts and organizational leadership experts that can talk about those things, and then we can apply those to special education. Not things that are as deliberate as, like, a specific OT strategy or a specific behavior strategy or something like that. So, that's something I've been thinking about. All right. So, let's get into the topic for this week's episode. And it kind of goes to that vulnerability piece, and honesty, right? Because we are in a relationship here. I come in every week and try to provide you with resources, and you are consuming those resources. And, we're chatting on the internet. You're sending me emails. I've represented several of you. And so I think it's important that I'm honest where we are here at the collaborative IEP. So, as you know, we just launched this ginormous project for you. This video series called the IEP Guru Academy. I want to go back a little bit, but um, the long and short here is I was horrendously disappointed with the result of the launch of that video series. And this will eventually lead to, kind of an inspiring challenge for you. So, when I first launched this business, I really, kind of did it the Ashley Barlow style and didn't have a big plan, but had a lot of confidence and knew that there was a need and just um, gave my heart and soul to building the ship as I was sailing it. I think you did that with an airplane, building the airplane as I was flying it. And, I knew I wanted to build a digital course. And so I built this special education and advocacy lab. Um, it is between 6 and 10 hours, depending on how you do it and what you add on. It's very, very comprehensive. I say it's nuts and bolts IEPs 101 when I market it. Um, and it is what I always and still do give clients in my law firm, and it is what I give advocacy clients in states other than Kentucky, kind of piecemeal, obviously what they need, but through out 1 hour consults, I would say 3 of those 6 to 10 hours, almost every single client needs and gets. Um, and it is extremely comprehensive, and it is, um, frankly, probably a little intimidating because it is long for a digital course. I knew it was long for a digital course, and when my team, kept saying, "It's long, you need to do these little 15-minute increments." I'm like, "Yes, that's what's wrong with education. We need longer, in-depth things, and I can't put my collaborative spin on stuff. I can't talk enough about communication if, I do these little 15-minute blurbs." And so I wanted to make 35 to 45-minute lessons, and that's what I did. Um and then, I put it out there into the universe and it did just okay. And I was like, I guess they were right. I guess, you know, parents are intimidated by the length of this thing and the girth of it. And so I started marketing to organizations. Organizations still continue to buy the lab. They use it for programming. So they use it two ways. One for programming, where, like a Down Syndrome Association will do a 10-week program, and parents can either log on virtually and they play them virtually, or they come in to like a community center and they watch it together and then they have discussions. Some organizations supplement with like state specific stuff and whatever. And then the other way that people use it is if they have like an education consultant, sometimes they will use it to, like, train their staff on the education stuff, and then they will also give it to their clientele or the families that they support if something comes up. Like, "Hey, here's a, license to this thing, it should get you started," and then we'll at least be talking the same language. So, it does well enough, but it still didn't knock my socks off, and, here's the thing, is compared to the amount of complaining that is out there about special education advocacy, the lab does not sell. And so, um, I was like, "Okay, let's revamp it. What do people need?" Because I know there is a need. I mean, my phone rings off the hook as a special education attorney in Kentucky, advocate in other states. My um, social media feed is full of people with problems. I can't go out to lunch here in my little town without people saying, "Hey, can I talk to you about my child and my child's needs?" and that sort of thing. So I know there's a need. So I, uh, over the last year, have now been in this industry for 4 years, and so I've got little marketing groups that I meet with, I've got business friends that I meet with, I've got all kinds of consultants, and so I did some market research, and I talked to a lot of you, and I did little focus groups, and I, um talk to a lot of people in businesses that are adjacent to this, like people on the teachergram and that kind of thing. And we came up with the idea of these very, very short and very, very affordable videos. And I said, well, what I want is I wanted to have this idea like, I am an expert and I can make you an expert. And so that's why we came up with that word guru. I am an expert, and in the amount of time it takes you to consume a cup of coffee, like 15 to 20 minutes or less, I can teach you a very specific and collaborative concept in special education advocacy. Um, and so we chose the 3 topics: inclusion, number 1, the next one is, how to respond when teams say things that, like, shut down conversations. So we call that common responses to powerful responses to common school team comments. And, the third one is it behavior? Hang on, Rach. And the third one is on teamwork, so advocacy, negotiation strategy, and teamwork. Um And that was based on, again, all of these conversations that I had with you and with other professionals. I intentionally made them super cheap, thinking, well, I certainly didn't, by now I've probably made back the money on the time that I spent creating the lab, but maybe barely. And so I'm like, well, I'm gonna make them cheap, hoping that I sell more because they are so inexpensive and they are so short that people will buy them because they're like, well, I can look at this while I'm in carpool, or I can look at, the car line, or I can look at this while I am literally drinking my cup of coffee or scrolling at night. And I made them on really, really specific topics so that I didn't overwhelm you. And I was so excited, like, leading up to it, I had so many people reaching out saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait for you to create that. I can't wait for that to be out there. I need that." Um, and again, um, I was just really disappointed with the result of the launch. I feel like I poured heart and soul into creating tools that would be effective and would truly make a difference, and things that would also be accessible to you and to my audience, not like you directly. I don't want for you to feel bad. Um and despite the pricing and the length and the topics and the marketing behind it, it just still um was underwhelming, to me. And so, I've just been reflecting a lot, and I think the solution here, I think I think the problem here, we'll start with the problem, is it very understandable, frankly. Advocacy is hard. It's not something that any of us, probably that a lot of us probably set out and was like, "Yeah, that's what I wanna do." Um and, most of us come to this need kind of by surprise. And, not having the time and the energy and the money and all of the other resources to dedicate to train yourself to advocate is completely valid. And, I've been there too. I feel like I should probably share a little bit more of my advocacy story here. But the truth is that if we put in this minimal amount of effort, the ripple effects really start to take hold. It really does start to have an exponentially positive impact fairly quickly, fairly efficiently. So advocacy is such an investment, that it's hard for me to see how the values get weighed on, well, this is really hard, and it's really annoying, but, take it from me that if you put in this little bit of effort to get trained on the specific things, um, we make a difference, not only for our own child, but for entire communities, like, literally states and even broader. Um, I can't tell you, like, literally, here's a big problem that I have with marketing. I can't tell you because of ethical rules. Like, rhetorically, I can't tell you how many parents have come to me and have said, "I don't I didn't know what I didn't know, and, like, my kid's IEP experience has completely turned 180 since you were involved." Kind of on average, I'm involved with families, like, between 3 to 6 months, and then a lot of times they don't have to call me back because they've learned the advocacy skills and strategies, and they just take it from there, and they write me a year later, 2 years later when their kid graduates, and they're like, "I just can't thank you enough for the skills that you taught me because I then could take it over." Um, Sometimes people call me, for transition to the next school or something like that, and I certainly have people that I've had forever. But that little bit of knowledge that I can impart can really make such a difference because you learn the skills and then you just practice them and they become second nature. So, I'm not telling you this so that you go out and pity buy. the IEP Guru Academy videos. But to the extent that you have any insight, I'm always open to any insight that you have. The topic doesn't hit you, something about the marketing is annoying. Like I love any input. So feel free to reach out to me by email, social media, whatever, um, on those things. But I really want to encourage you. I want for you to see 2025 or the beginning of this semester or the beginning of next year or the beginning of middle school or wherever you are right now as a reset. And I really want for you to consider leaning into advocacy. I don't want for you to see it as a burden. I don't want for you to see it as something negative. I don't even want for you to see it as something that you have to do. What I want for you to do is to consider a small little framework shift and to think about the reason for your advocacy and to think about how lucky and blessed we are as parents and as advocates that we get to advocate for our deserving children and clients and friends and people in our lives, that we get to see the beauty of what they need, that we have the opportunity to learn what they need and to learn how accessible we can make the world to them and how we can fit these different needs into this beautiful world. And then we get the opportunity to teach other people how to do it. So we as parents don't always have the choice. If we want to go to the grocery store, we've got to figure out how to make the grocery store accessible to our children. And we learn that and it can be so beautiful. And then we get the gift of sharing that with other people. Um, so I encourage you to start to think about that framework shift and then to start to take small, manageable, teeny tiny little steps because those teeny tiny little steps to leaning into advocacy can make such a wonderful impact, whether it's a ripple or it's an or it's an entire tidal wave. Um, I want for you to know I am committed to helping you. At the end of the day, this little business, the collaborative IEP, I will fully admit that in June of 2024, I was like, that's it, we're done. I practice law full time. I parent full time. I got a kid going to college. And this little side business just is a lot of work for, not nearly as much gain as practicing law. Um, but I want for you to know that one of the reasons that I do this is because as a human, I want to make advocacy more accessible to the masses. I want to continue to preach this positive spin on advocacy, this collaborative spin. I want to continue to talk about teamwork. I want to continue to um, be relentlessly optimistic, and I want to make advocacy strategies more readily available to folks that can't afford attorneys and advocates. And so it is within my value set to stay here and to continue to support you. I want to make this journey easier, um, whether it's through free resources like the PDFs that are on the website, the podcast, or the affordably priced paid resources. Of course, the most affordably priced is those IEP Guru Academy videos. I'm committed to supporting you the entire way. If the videos and the resources are not for you, I would greatly appreciate if you would support my small business by sharing it with your friends. Part of the disappointment with the launch was that I was getting very little engagement on social media. That seems to have picked up actually since the launch. But like if you are at a meeting or if you're having lunch with other friends or if you're scrolling something and you like it, it would mean so much to me if you would even just like it, like literally liking posts helps. Because then It helps the algorithm, and then my posts get in front of additional people. But share it with your friends. Encourage your friends to follow me if you like what I'm putting out there. Those things just help to get the word out more. And that's my goal. My goal is to help more families. Um, and so I want to grow in that way. Um, so I probably already alluded to what the next thing on my little list here is, upcoming resources and plans for the new year. I want to start to bring in different people from different genres onto the podcast. We do have the conference coming up. We're going to announce the dates. We're doing a little bit of a different spin on the conference. I'll go ahead and tell you the dates now. What the heck? I think it's February 25, 26, and 27. It's the end of that week. Um, it is February, 26, 27, and 28, the last 3 days of the month. We're doing something a little bit different. The free ticket will give you 24 hours access to everything planned on that day. So if you register for free, you will get 1 day to view everything available on the 26th, 1 day to view everything available on the 27th, and the same for the 28th. And then the paid ticket will give you the same thing that it always has, access on demand to all of the content plus some bonuses. So we're gonna announce that here soon. I gotta get back over to my notes. Um, Other things for the upcoming year, I would love to add, my plan was to add at least 12 additional IEP Guru Academy videos. I have at least one additional topic I wanted to launch this year, and I have at least one additional video for each of our current topics that I'm really kind of itching to make, and I've got outlined and I'm ready to roll, but I just frankly can't dedicate the resources, like the time resources to it right now until, um the current videos start to sell a little bit better because don't forget, I do have a full-time job as well. So I would love to start to do that. And I have another goal in 2025 to get out and do some more speaking. I used to speak a lot before the pandemic. And so I would like to get out and do some more speaking. So I'm going to start submitting to present at a few conferences, and to try to network with more organizations to get out and do more of that because I really do enjoy that, and it's another way for me to kind of spread the good word about collaboration and negotiation strategy at the IEP table to more people and to take that stressful adversarial icky conflict out of the equation. um so those are some of our things. I'll stop there. Um, okay, so we'll wrap this up. I hope it didn't sound whiny and sad because that's how it sounded when I tried this in December. I just want for you to know that I believe in you. I believe that you have the ability to effect positive change on your IEP team, at your child's school, in your community, and so far beyond that. And I think it's important that we all acknowledge when there is a skill deficit, whether that is not knowing the law, not knowing special education practice, not having advocacy and negotiation training, and that we find efficient ways to fill those skill deficits. So, I want for you to know that you can create change. You can create more positive experiences for your child and for others. And this could be a year to remember if you dive in and do a little bit of that work. So happy 2025. I hope it finds you well. I hope you are not digging out from blankets and blankets of snow that are predicted kind of across the Midwest. And I have to thank you. I have to thank you for trusting me to guide you along this journey and for 4 wonderful years here at the Collaborative IEP and counting. So I will wish you a happy and productive new year. Lots of good stuff to come. And I'll see you next week, same time, same place.